What's up, Fantasy Guru subscribers? This is Ben Kukanis, copy editor and webmaster here at FantasyGuru.com. In this latest video, what I want to do is take you through a usual week of content as far as in-season goes. Oftentimes we get a lot of questions on Twitter in regards to not just where to find items, especially with our new site and our new layout, but when certain items will be released. You can find everything out in the what you get link up at the very top of the page, but I figured a video could provide a nice visual aid for where to find all the items that we release during the week. Right now it is a Friday, so we have a solid 90-95% of our content up, which works out nicely. And I'm just going to go through the week, Monday through Friday, showing you what we release, around when we release it, and where you can find it all. Starting off with Monday, the three major items that we release on Monday are the Stock Watch, the Waiver Wire Report, and our Inside the Box Score. The Inside the Box Score is always accessible, and you can find it in a couple different places. By clicking on News and Reports, you can find Inside the Box Scores from here. Also, in our What's Hot area, Inside the Box Scores will always be accessible through there as well. Now, when we access these, you can filter by week. However, the site is automatically going to roll over to the following week as soon as the first NFL game of that week is played. For instance, like I said, it is Friday and there was just a Thursday night game. So right now we're looking at the box score report for last night's game, the Chiefs versus the Raiders. And all of these will be filled in as the weekend progresses so that by Monday and Tuesday, everything will be filled up. But again, once Friday or late Thursday rolls around when the next week starts, by default, our Inside the Box scores will move to the next week. However, you can easily toggle between weeks to see if you're looking for something specific. The other item we released is our Stock Watch. And our Stock Watch will always be found in recent articles, and it will always be on our featured carousel right here. Our Stock Watch just details players trending upwards, trending downwards, and players that we're watching, maybe not in any direction, but players we're going to keep an eye on based on the previous week's content. We also try to provide information connecting with the waiver wire report, such as players who may originally be on the waiver wire report but are likely picked up or fall into similar categories as upgrades, downgrades, holding steady, as well as our watch list. The other piece of content we release every Monday is our massive waiver wire report. Now, this is actually constantly updated throughout the entire week. It is inaccessible Sunday at 1 o'clock once the game starts because our writers actively work on the waiver wire report during the game. So it is unavailable from Sunday 1 o'clock to around mid-afternoon on Monday when it is re-released. And like I said, waiver wire is constantly updated throughout the week, and as the season goes on, we try to be specific as to when we provide updates for all of the players. You can find waiver wire reports either on our featured carousel right here in our secondary feature items, and sometimes you may also be able to find it in our What's Hot section as well. Moving on to Tuesday. Tuesday is actually a pretty busy day as it is the turnover from the previous week and we start to gear up for next week's action. Two items right off the bat that we do early or around noon every Tuesday is the waiver wire chat with Tom Brawley. We release a waiver wire poll each week as well. Now, the waiver wire chat you'll definitely be able to find under What's Hot. For instance, it's right here. And an interesting thing about the chats is even if you miss a chat, and like I said, usually they are held around noon every Tuesday, even if you miss a chat, you can still go into it and look at the transcript, see if anyone has different or similar questions as you. You can also access all other chats from here as well. We also have our streaming defense report from Graham Barfield that's released every Tuesday, usually in the late afternoon. This is very useful for those who are just streaming defenses. Maybe you don't have one that you're keeping on your roster every week, and you'll be able to find that in a few different places. Most notably, it'll be under strategy. It will also be under recent as well. Right here, we're going to take a look at week 7 defensive streamers. Graham also provides the percentage owned just to help you out a little bit and see what defenses will probably be available on your waiver wire to pick up. Also updated often every Tuesday is our backfield breakdown. This used to be called RB Handcuffs for anyone who has been with us for a while. You can find this in the article section, and you can also find this in the news and reports, specific link in the news and reports. And so we update this usually every Tuesday. Next, we have our Down to the Wire podcast. Every Tuesday in the morning it's released with Tom Brawley and Paul Kelly, and you'll be able to find this in the What's Hot section as well. If you click the link, it'll take you to our Podcast One page, which you can find all of our podcasts on there. Also, this will often be released in our secondary featured item, so it will probably be in one of these 2 boxes on Tuesday when it is released as well. Tom Brawley also does a Keeper Dynasty Watch released on Tuesday. Keeper Dynasty Watch, we advertise it as staying ahead of your league, finding the next week's waiver wire options. Brawley really looks to the future, not just for that week, but in the weeks coming, the months coming, and sometimes even in the years coming. We also have the Stat Pack, which is released every Tuesday as well by Graham Barfield. If you click on articles, you'll be able to find it in our stat info and analysis section. Graham Barfield basically compiles some interesting trends and stats that he's noticed from across the league, especially pertaining to previous week's action. Another huge piece of content that we have released at the end of the day is John Hansen's Players to Trade and Trade For piece. This really looks at who you might want to trade away, or who maybe isn't performing as well but has an easier schedule in the future that you might want to pull the trigger on. This can be found in the articles section, as well as usually it is found in the featured area as well. Finally, a new feature that we released this year is the streaming quarterback and tight end options. In the past years, we only did streaming defenses, but Tom Brawley now has an article for streaming quarterbacks and tight ends. Oftentimes, if you're streaming quarterbacks due to injury or anything like that, this is a great article to check out. You'll also be able to find this in the article section under strategy. And finally, 2 other items that we release on Tuesday is our news and notes. News and notes we release every Tuesday, followed by practice reports every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You can access the news and notes as well as all the practice reports from the article section, practice reports/injury. And what we usually like to do is just compile bits and pieces from around the league. Interesting tidbits. News and notes may include injury as well, but it could also include any bits of analysis or observations, any coaches' quotes, anything like that. So that pretty much does it for Tuesday. Moving on to Wednesday now. Wednesday is also a big day, mainly because we release our projections Wednesday. Oftentimes, actually, the projections are released Tuesday night, but we add our comments every Wednesday, either midday or mid-afternoon. We add our comments for the projections. We also have Paul Kelly's Snap Report. We have Graham Barfield's Production Tracker, which is another popular item. If we go back over to, I think it's either strategy or stat info and analysis, we can take a look at Graham's defensive production tracker. New feature we have this year actually is we're including the exact Excel download. So not only will you be able to see the charts here as well as along with the analysis, but you'll also be able to download the Excel chart for yourself if you would want to use it in any other way. Wednesday, we also release our kicker recommendations as well as Justin Barnes, our IDP guy, he releases his IDP tackle report. Graham Barfield also has another article today on Wednesdays, specifically geared to DFS. He releases his FanDuel bargain bin, in which he just takes a look at a few bargains you can get, maybe a few guys that are priced low that are projected to have high-scoring games for that week. And the other big item that we release on Wednesday is our Thursday game preview. We'd like to get it up a full day in advance so that people can get a head start on analysis for it. Thursday usually begins off with releasing our matchup podcast with John Hansen and Greg Cosell. This is usually done every Thursday morning as they break down that week's matchup and go one by one. You'll be able to find it either in our secondary area, and it'll also always be in our What's Hot area as well. Again, if you click on the link, it'll take you to our podcast one page, and you can scroll through just in case you missed any podcasts during the week. We also release our staff picks every Thursday. Staff picks are usually released around noon, maybe a little after that every Thursday. We try to cover a wide variety of types of picks people make. We do have just straight up picks while we do, and providing the spread on them as well. We have, for those in confidence pools, we provide that as well. We also provide suicide picks, and Tom Browley provides his against the spread picks. Another big item we release on Thursday is Joe Dolan's passing game matchups. This article is actually released over on FantasyGuru Elite every Tuesday, and we post it every Thursday. And what Joe likes to do here, and you can find it in our strategy section. Joe pays attention to some key matchups in the passing game, not just cornerbacks versus wide receivers, but he also does look at some tight end plays as well as some passing game running back plays. And like I said before, we also release practice reports on Thursday as well. The practice reports usually come out around 5 o'clock every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Additionally, final item that we release is our kick returners preview. This is updated later in the week, often on Friday and sometimes on Saturday as well. But if you're in a league that awards points for return yards, this is definitely a useful article that you're going to want to consult. Which brings us to Friday. Friday, the big ticket item that we release is our fantasy previews. Always able to find that on our featured carousel. You could also click the drop down for articles and access them through the weekly fantasy previews, but you'll always be able to find it on the carousel. We organize the games by time slot, so it'll be split into the 1 o'clock games, the 4 o'clock games, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night game. And we basically break down every matchup by each team's passing game, each team's running game. We like to provide whose stock is up and whose stock is down in some of them. And at the top of each write-up, we look at the Vegas, the weather, and injuries to watch, just in case there are some borderline players as well. So we cover all matchups for the week. Sunday games, Sunday 4 p.m., Sunday night, and Monday night as well. Friday, we hold another chat with Tom Browley. It's our weekly fantasy preview chat. You can access this through the What's Hot section right down here. Just like before, if you missed the chat, don't worry about it. You can look at the transcript right here, see if anyone has similar questions. You can also access any chats through our interactive content dropdown. If you click on chats right here, it'll bring you to this same page we were on. It'll always have the most recent chat transcript visible right there. Tom Browley also releases a trending topics every Friday. We get so many questions on Twitter, whether it's start sit, trade advice, just opinions, anything like that. So Tom Browley compiles just a short list of common questions he's received during the week and tries to answer them in a slightly broader topic so that he can cover all different angles. And this is released Friday morning, mid-morning, mid to late morning as well. Also on Friday, Graham Barfield does have another DFS article called Ahead of the DFS Curve. This will be released Friday. Sometimes it might be released Saturday as well. And the two final items remaining that we released are Justin Varn's IDP preview, which is basically his version, his fantasy preview, but from an IDP perspective. And Joe Dolan and Graham Barfield always do their Friday podcast. They always pay attention to some pretty cool topics, very, very specific topics, anything that's trending throughout the week based on injury, trade, any hot topics that's trending for the week, they look at in their podcast, which is usually released mid to late afternoon. Saturdays, like I said, sometimes we might release ahead of the DFS curve on Saturdays, but Saturdays is a rather quiet day, though we do have people constantly updating our waiver wire based on any late news, injury from practice reports during the week. And then every Sunday around mid-morning, we post our Sunday update page, which includes John Hansen's Hints, along with the weather report and a few matchups to watch. And as you all know, I'm sure you can access from that page or from the homepage, you can access our Sunday game day page, which provides inactives for the week. So if you're ever wondering if a certain key player of yours is active or inactive, if he was borderline, you'll be able to find it here. This page will also give you a weather report and an hourly forecast for the upcoming hours as well.